Happy to be joined by top UFC welterweight contender Belal Muhammad, who has been patiently or impatiently waiting for this welterweight title fight to get announced. It finally does. It has a date, UFC 296. Belal, I appreciate you joining me, but I can imagine this has been quite a frustrating period of time for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating, but for the most part, I'm always in the gym. I'm training, so like, I'm just happy it's finally got a date. Like, people are asking me and telling me like, "Oh man, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be mad if they give it to Kobe?" I'm like, "Bro, they already like guaranteed it to Kobe, so there's really nothing I could have did. The only thing I could have controlled is beating Gilbert Burns, and then knowing that I'm next after that."
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Because you were told before the fight, I believe you were told after the fight, after you won that fight, you beat Burns, that you were next in line. So I know you're a guy who likes to actively compete, but at this point, have you reached a point in your career where, like, no, right, I'm gonna wait? Because I've had this conversation with you multiple times, right? And you end up fighting somebody else. But have you reached a point where you're like, no, I'm just gonna wait for a title shot?
Yeah, I mean, because I get to the point now where I'm looking at my career and I'm looking at where I'm at and all the people I beat. Like, I feel like I I fought guys that were all number one contenders. Gilbert Burns fought for the belt. Damian Maia fought for the belt twice. Wonderboy fought for the belt twice. Luque weighed in for the title shot. So like, I feel like I'm literally fighting guys like I'm the champion. I'm just not getting paid like the champion. So I think it's time now to be like, all right, well, they guarantee me the title shot, so let's become the champion so we can start getting the real money.
And because Dana was recently asked, and he said Bilal has a fight, which had people speculating, is it Kamaru Usman? So do you have a fight? Are you going to take a fight before the title shot, or what was Dana talking about?
I mean, we got our manager. We're throwing out stuff at them. Like, I'm willing to fight Sean Strickland at 185. I'm willing to go up there. That's a title fight. So like, I had a guarantee for a title fight. Also, obviously, there's at 170, the only other person that doesn't have a fight is Usman. But when I'm looking at it, it really doesn't really make sense for me unless, like I said, unless I'm getting paid like a champion, because Usman, I think, is a harder matchup than Kobe or Leon, and it's like I'm not gonna get nothing for beating him. I'm not gonna get a belt for beating him. And fighting Usman, I'm gonna have a better resume than Usman. My resume is gonna be tied with freaking GSPs, and he's gonna be considered the go-to division. But if I have Usman on my resume, Gilbert Burns, Wonderboy, Luque, undefeated Sean Brady, who I think is gonna pay dividends once Sean Brady comes back and fights. Like, I'm gonna be like considered the goat of the welterweights without even fighting for the belt. So it really doesn't make any sense. But if they're offering me Sean Strickland, I'm willing to go up there and cash in my title ticket for that. I'll go up there and fight him any day of the week.
So what are the conversations like with the UFC? Like, because we've seen Sean O'Malley wait, right? He sat out for essentially after he beat Peter Yan. Henry Cejudo got the title shot, but he sat out. He didn't fight, and then he ended up getting his shot. So what are the conversations like with the UFC? Would you be down to do that? Are they down? Like, what are the conversations like? Have they offered you a fight? Did you tell them I'll potentially fight if if there's a bump and pay? Like, what are the conversations been like?
Like, it's just being honest. They're like, yo, neither one of these guys like to fight. Kobe and Leon sit out for years and they don't really like to fight. They're not fighters. So are you willing to sit out and wait for them to come back after whoever wins this belt? Because if Kobe wins, he's been running for me for years, for his life. But the fact that he knows that I'm next, he's gonna go on a long, I think, victory parade if he ends up beating Leon. And Leon's been running from me since that fight, and he's been coming up with excuses, and he's acting like, oh, they're forcing me to fight Kobe. But the champion gets to choose, and I think that for a champion, you want to choose an easier fight. I think he chose Kobe because he knows it's an easier fight, easier matchup for him. And I think regardless, both of these guys are going to sit out 6 to 8 months after December. So it's just up to me deciding, like, yo, do you want to wait? Because I am always training. I'm always in the room, and I am impatient. So there's like, yo, are you willing to wait? Are you trying to wait for them? Or we had this guy on the table. We had this guy on the table. So it's basically the ball's in your court. But they never said, like, yo, you're not getting a title shot anymore. They're just like, hey, do you want to wait, or you get another check fighting one of these guys? But it's not like boxing, right, where you can get like a tune-up fight. There's no tune-up fights in the UFC. Like, the tune-up fight is either fighting Sean Strickland or fighting Kamaru Usman.
So yeah, is that the way you're looking at it right now? Because, or are you gonna wait to see how Colby and Leon plays out? Like, what's the play for you right now?
My play is just training for that fight, right? Training for both those guys because both of them have been out for a while, and both of them guys have so many canceled fights. When you're looking at their resumes, that this guy pulled out, or they pulled out, or something's went wrong with either one of them. So like, I'm planning if one of them guys pulls out, I got to be willing to step in on short notice at any moment. So I'm training for either one of those guys, and both those guys southpaws, both of them are lefties. So I don't really got to change much up if I'm specifically training for them. But if I'm training for someone else, a different opponent, and then one of these guys pull out, then I'll have to make more bigger adjustments. But if I'm training for Colby or Leon as a backup, or just in general, if they don't want to put me as a backup, just to stay ready for one of those two guys, or if I'm just training to wait those 8 months for one of those two guys, it's like, all right, now I have focused training. But if I'm sitting there like, oh, maybe Strickland, I got to specifically train for a boxer and with a weirder style. And then if something happens with Colby Leon, then they call me. It's like, yo, all right, now you got to switch up to southpaw. So it all just comes down to trying to figure out what they want and where they're going to put me at, because that fight is a couple months away. So it's like, I need to know now what I'm training for.
So how about being a backup? Have you told the UFC? Does that interest you to come in and weigh in as a backup?
Yeah, I mean, if they're willing to pay me, for sure, 100%. Like I'm gonna be down there anyway, sit in front row, and I'll have my WWE Money in the Bank briefcase ready to hop over at any moment, step in there, regardless of if they want me to be the backup or not. But they've had backups for every single title fight recently, and it's like, I don't think I need to be cemented as the backup to know that I'm next in line, because they already cemented me by saying, yo, you beat Gilbert Burns, you're fighting for the belt next. So like, I don't need to be the backup, but if they want me to, of course. I mean, I'm down if they're paying.
And you had mentioned Kamaru Usman. Obviously, he's a former champion. He's at one point people were calling him potentially the greatest welterweight of all time, or top two with GSP. So a fight against him. Now I know you've earned your title shot undoubtedly, but a fight against him, does that do something for your career?
I mean, of course, like I said, it's if I'm looking that route, that's the route of, all right, I want to be the greatest welterweight to ever do it, right? Because people put him in that top tier with him and GSP. But if I'm going out there and I'm beating Kamaru Usman, you always had the other side too, where people are like, oh, well, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He is old. His knees are gone. And after every one of my wins, they're always coming up with an excuse for me. So it's like, do I really want to put that on the line for that? Because, they're going to just give him more excuses to hate on me. And they're never going to give me the credit I get or I deserve for beating these top guys. Every single guy I beaten was winning. Every single top guy I beaten was supposedly the next best guy, the guy that should be fighting for the title next. And then I walk through them, and then it's like, well, that guy sucked. That guy wasn't really good. His style is trash. What do he do? He just wrestles them. So then my last two guys, I just killed them on the feet. And it's like, oh, well, no, his style sucks. Even though I didn't take one takedown. But like, for me, it's not about pleasing anybody anymore. It's about knowing my team. And we're on this plan. We've been on this mission for a long time. So it's like, what we all have in store for us, what we all want, we all have to discuss it as a group, because those are the only people that are going to be with me, win or lose, no matter what. So if they're like, hey, let's go for it, let's kill another one, I'm down to kill another one.
And the other option you mentioned, Sean Strickland. I know you're not the biggest fan of his, but did you actually did you tell the UFC like, I'll fight him? Like, yeah, do you actually talk to them about it? And is it more to do with Sean Strickland himself, or just the idea of testing the waters at middleweight?
No, yeah, 100%. I asked them, I told them I'm willing to do it. You guys promised me a title fight. I'll fight Sean Strickland, because that's not a fight I have to wake up for. Like, when I'm fighting the guys at 170, a lot of the guys I just fought were like some of the nicest guys in the world that I was actually like cool with. Gilbert, we were cool. Wonderboy's a nice guy in the world. Luque, we're cordial, cool. So it's like, I had to I'm obviously going to train hard no matter what, just for a victory. But when I had guys that I have animosity with Sean Brady, who I was like, all right, now it's got personal. Let's go. I didn't need to wake up. I wanted to hurt him. Sean Strickland doesn't want to be one of those guys where I don't need to wake up. I'm going to go in there trying to hurt him, no matter what. But it's also, if I do win that 185 title, which I think I will, if I fight Sean Strickland, it's like, all right, now I got to stay at 185. So you're going to be stuck there when I did so much work at 170. So it's for me too. It's like, do you want to stay there knowing that like one of my boys, obviously my brother, Brandon Allen, I think is right there, 1 fight away, 2 fights away. So like, I would never want to take away something from him. So it's just a lot of like thought process going into it. But if they're willing to like give me Sean Strickland next, without having to wait that long while, I think it just comes down to whether or not Chimaev and Costa fight is lives up to expectations. I think if Khamzat wins, I think he'll for sure get the next title shot. But if Costa wins, I don't know if he's guaranteed the next title shot. And I think that leaves an opening for me to go in there and fight Strickland, especially if they're going to do Adesanya against Driscus next.
And for you, ideally, when would you want to fight if you were to take a fight before the title shot? I know Ramadan's coming up. You've competed during Ramadan before, but ideally for you, when would you want to fight?
I mean, whenever they're asking me for it, I'm always training. I'm always ready for it. Knowing me, knowing the way that they've played my career out, I'm probably going to get the title shot offer during Ramadan, right in the middle, snap dab. But we've gone through it, right? We've done it. We made it through every single time, and we won every single time. So I know that they're never going to give me anything or hand it to me on a silver platter. And we had to claw and work our way just to get to where we are today. So I don't got no recommendations of when I should fight. Whenever they call, I'm ready to go.
Do you almost feel like it'll make your story that much sweeter, the fact that it's been such a tough road and sometimes people hate on you for no reason? It just everything about it. Do you feel like it's just going to make the story that much sweeter at the end?
Yeah, 100%. Because I was never given anything. I was never handed anything. I was never given the easy road. I literally told everybody that I was going to have to go through 1 through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get to where I am. And now I am here. I'm on a 10-fight winning streak. And people are still doubting me. People are still saying that he doesn't deserve this or doesn't deserve that. And all I do is keep beating their favorite fighters. And they always have an excuse after every single one. But the people that are with me, the people that know how hard I work, the people that know how much work and energy and skill, like I literally eat, breathe this sport, and I love the sport, and I'll die for the sport. So like people don't know what it took for me to get to where I am today. So when I get that title fight, when I get that title, it's just gonna be like kind of like just a sense of relief, and it kind of like I told you so. You guys didn't believe it, now you see it. So none of it really matters because social media is fake, people are fake, fans are fake. The only ones that are going to be with you are truly your family, your friends, and your team.
And I referenced Sean O'Malley earlier, him waiting, but then we've seen the likes of Beneil Dariush, who was on a great winning streak. Tony Ferguson was interim champ, 12-fight winning streak. They kept fighting, and then eventually they never got that undisputed shot. So do you ever think about that maybe it would be a good idea just to wait, even though I know you like to be active?
Yeah, 100%. You hear those stories, you see those stories, but like also too, people like to compare myself to these other guys, but like none of these other guys are really fighting the level of competition as me. I'm fighting. I've had four top 5 wins. Like Beneil Dariush didn't have that. He had a long streak, great streak, amazing streak. Yeah, of course. But it's not comparable because I'm fighting literally guys that they said was going to be next for the title, and they're not giving me my title fight. Tony Ferguson, yeah, he was in there, but he had his own little issues of tripping over wires and injuring himself. So like his title fights were just bad luck. But for me, I think I was just never even offered this spot. I was never even offered a shot at the title. So like once I get that shot, once I get the title fight, people are gonna realize, wait, let's look back at his resume. Bro, this guy's beating the best striker in the 170-pound division, and Wonderboy dominated him. Wait, he beat 2 amazing grapplers and Damian Maia and Gilbert Burns. Oh my God, wait, he beat an undefeated prospect wrestler who's probably going to stay keep winning after he finally comes back. Like they're going to look back at my resume and be like, bro, this guy was one of the best welterweights to ever do it. And once I get the belt, then I can start cementing my legacy as the best welterweight to ever do it.
Would best case scenario be you get pegged as the backup? You're training right now, like you said, you're always in the gym, but you be weighing in as a backup right now. Is that, you feel like that's the best case scenario?
Best case scenario is, I think, if Masvidal finishes the job, he sees Colby at the restaurant, really gives him brain damage. And then I'm fighting Leon, the fight that should have been what it should have been, and that's the real title fight. And we end up fighting December, whatever. But hopefully Masvidal gets the message.
Well, now you talked about wanting to fight Leon, but now that Leon's fighting Colby, do you have a preference in who wins? Because I know you've been calling out Colby for years. You have unfinished business with Leon. So is there a preference in terms of who you would rather fight for the title?
I mean, I think I'd rather fight Leon just because of the unfinished business, but obviously the build up with Colby would be funner, right? Even with this fight now with Colby and Leon, Leon's really not saying anything, and that's why you see Colby calling out Islam. You see him calling out Strickland, calling out all these random people, just trying to throw stuff and see if anybody responds to him because he knows Leon's not really going to respond to him. So there would be like a fun build up with me and Leon, but I would definitely want the Leon fight more just because he has the longest winning streak in the division now, and he just beat Usman twice, who I thought I wanted to be the one to stop his streak and his reign, and he did it. So if I go out there and with my 10-fight winning streak and I beat Leon, who's on a 12 or 13-fight winning streak, I think it'll just cement me as one of the best to ever do it. I think Colby's a way easier fight for sure, and I think it'll be a funner fight just to just slap him and punch him in his mouth. And because I think if he loses this fight, he's for sure retiring. He's not going to stay here. So I wouldn't want not to get the chance to actually hit Colby in the mouth. But yeah, I would rather have Leon just because of the streak he's on and his resume, and just because of our unfinished business.
Do you think Colby retires? I think it was Matt Brown that also said that. Do you think Colby actually retires if he loses?
Oh, 100%. Like he's not a guy that's going to fight contenders. Like you've seen it. The UFC's literally giving him older guys on their way out every single one of his fights just so he can get a win, and they give him a title fight. Like there's no more older guys in the division for him to fight if he loses to Leon. There's no more older guys on their way out that, all right, maybe we could give him. Maybe they'll throw him Tony Ferguson if Tony Ferguson stays at 170, but like I doubt it because this will be the third title shot that he's going to lose. And I just, like Matt Brown said, I don't think he's not a fighter. He's a guy that loves to build up, loves to be fake, loves to have the people cheer him or boo him. But like, if he loses this one, he's gonna all of his loser fans and his fake fans, they're all gonna realize, wait, this dude does really suck, and they're not gonna be with him anymore. So then he's gonna have to look at other ways to make money.
And when you hear Colby mention Islam's name and Islam expressing interest in fighting Colby, does that worry you that if Colby wins and Islam wins, that the UFC would even think about that option?
I mean, it doesn't worry me. Obviously, Islam is a man, right? And somebody calls you out, you're going to respond to him. Like I said, that's what Colby's doing. He's trying to get a response because he knows it's going to make headlines, it's going to get talk. But I think for Islam, it's like he still has a lot of fights that could be next for him at 155, right? He still has the Oliveira fight still there. He still has Justin Gaethje, who just came off a huge win, and obviously the Volkanovski fight. So I don't even think the UFC would even look at that fight. Obviously, it would be a huge fight, but I don't think they would book that fight so soon because he does have huge fights at 155 still.
That being said, how do you see Leon and Colby playing out?
I think Colby's going to come out throwing his wild, random strikes, his literally terrible technique. I think Leon's going to move around, throw some good high kicks, body kicks, low kicks. Colby's going to take a couple of terrible shots, and he's going to realize that he can't take Leon down. Leon probably will get taken down in the first round, second round. Then once it gets later to the third or fourth round, I think he's going to start feeling the kicks from Leon. His body's going to start hurting, and I think Leon's going to get a finish in the fourth round.
Have you been impressed with Leon lately, like his recent run to becoming champion and then his rematch with, or his trilogy, I should say, with Kamaru?
I mean, it wasn't a recent run to get to the title, right? He was out 2 years, poked me in the eye, then he fought Nate Diaz and got a title shot off of beating Nate Diaz. So it wasn't a crazy run to get to the title. Even before that, it's like you beat Donald Cerrone, you beat RDA, Nate Diaz. Those are all 55ers that you got your title shot off of. I am impressed with the third fight in the fight that he had with Usman for sure. Like he came back with a different game plan, different style, used really good footwork, and defended a lot of the takedowns. But yeah, the run lead up to the title fight wasn't impressive, but definitely for sure the third fight was impressive.
So how would you approach the rematch with Leon differently? I know you guys didn't get to compete for that long, but if you could take, both of you have also improved since then, but how would you approach things differently if you were to get to rematch Leon?
There wasn't really an approach with that one. It was literally a 2-week notice fight, first main event, coming off of a fight with Diego Lima. So like there wasn't enough time to even really watch tape on him because he was out for 2 years before that fight. So we didn't even know which type of Leon was going to come. But our approach, our ways of figuring out fighters, breaking fighters down, it's better than any other camp, any other team in the world. Like we figure out what these guys' weaknesses are. We figure out how to make our strength their weakness, and we exploit that every single fight. And you've seen it. You see me fight backwards. You see me fight laterally. You see me fight forward. I switch up my style based off my opponent. So if I were to fight Leon, I would literally break him. I would do what Usman was doing to him that second fight. But I want to take my foot off the gas.
And before I let you go, and I appreciate your time, just a couple of predictions I want to get from you. They announced Wonderboy and Shavkat. How do you see that one playing out?
I think people are like underestimating or overestimating Shavkat's wrestling. Obviously, he's a great fighter, great striker. His jiu-jitsu is really good, but we really haven't seen him offensive wrestling unless guys are like bringing it toward him. I don't think Wonderboy is going to be bringing any wrestling toward him at all. So I think it'll be more of a striking fight. And I think Wonderboy is one of the best strikers in the world. So I think it'll be a tougher matchup than a lot of people are expecting. But, you know, Shavkat's really good, and he always figures out ways to win. He always figures out ways to finish. But I'm excited for that one for sure.
And I know this one isn't welterweight, but Khamzat used to be at welterweight and someone that was kind of on your radar. Khamzat and Paulo Costa, how about that one?
I mean, I'm excited for that one. I was literally just watching tape on both of those guys yesterday just to watch it. And I think it's going to come down to cardio. And I think both of them, they both have will. Neither one of them guys will break mentally in the cage. But I think it'll come down to, for sure, cardio, because I think they're both going to fight with emotion. They're both going to be fighting with anger. And Costa's really good at attacking the body with kicks, punches. But I do think after rewatching tape on it, I do think Khamzat will be able to take him down, because I've seen a couple guys get their hands locked on Costa, get body locks on him. And even like, you know, guys like Rockhold shot in deep on him, but he just didn't have the energy to finish him. I think Khamzat will be able to finish it. So it's about Costa's get up ability and being safe on the ground without giving up his neck for chokes or anything like that. But it's also about Khamzat not going all out in the first 30 seconds like he's been doing lately, because he's been a lot bigger and stronger than a lot of these guys. He just can't do that. I think it's going to be a lot of it's going to be taking place on the feet. But yeah, I'm gonna be down there front row for that one. Excited.
Yes, you will, because the day before you will be. Is it your grappling debut? Is this going to be your first grappling match?
We're actually not doing that anymore, just because they booked this title fight. So I'm training for either one of these guys. So I was like, yeah, I can't take a chance of anything happening, having a freaking Cub Swanson ACL tear over a grappling match. I'm like, all right, now they finally got a date. Now I got nothing else to focus on but these two guys. So I'm like, I don't even want to take my head somewhere else.
I was literally just gonna ask you that I know the willingness to stay active, and then so that was booked before you agreed to that, before they made the title fight official.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was sitting there and they offered it, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll be down there anyway. And then all of a sudden, the next week they make the title fight. And I was like, oh crap! And I was like, still trying to do both, and I was like, I'm gonna do it, but then I was like, I wasn't gonna not take anything serious. So if I'm competing in anything, I'm gonna take a full force, 100% serious. So then I was like, I'm gonna do more jiu-jitsu. But then I'm like watching tape on Colby and Leon, and I was like, you know what? I can't get my head somewhere there, and put my energy somewhere where like I don't really care that much about it. Like it's just a grappling match to me, so I wouldn't have really cared 100% on it. So I was like, you know what? Let's just focus on this title fight. Focus on both of these two guys, and that's where the real money's at.
Fair enough. Well, Belal, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I'll see you out there in Dubai / Abu Dhabi, inshallah.
For sure. See you soon, inshallah.